Hi everybody, welcome to my channel Frugalisama. My name's Sam and this is about to talk about all things sewing. Today is another Frugal Friday and day 68 of 100 days of sewing, and thought today I would just talk about some of the Great British Sewing Bee patterns and look for some free patterns that have been inspired by the bee. So first of all, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who's subscribed so far. I hit 5,000 the other day and it's just been amazing. Thank you very much, and thank you so much to everybody who's contributed to my Ko-fi account as well. That is really kind of you, thank you. If you've not already subscribed, I generally bring out videos on a Friday with the Frugal Fridays, although I will admit I am a little bit late with this one, but we're still keeping with the theme of Frugal Fridays just for consistency. This is where I usually look at free patterns that have been released during the week and any discounts and any competitions or challenges that I've been able to find. So I will be sticking with that today, although I probably haven't got a great deal of discounts. So I've got some challenges at the end for you, some competitions and some prizes to be won, so keep watching. Usually midweek I have a video that's either a tutorial or a how-to. Sundays I usually look at makes, plans and reviews. This Sunday I've got a sew-along for a ruffle top, which I'll talk about a bit later. So on to today's video. So Kate over at the Fold Line has already done a great job of matching the patterns that she's found with the patterns that contestants used in the bee. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and find any free patterns that have been inspired by the Great British Sewing Bee. So first of all, apologies to anybody who doesn't live in the UK or is unable to actually get access to viewing the Great British Sewing Bee. It is licensed by the BBC, so people in the UK pay a licence fee, and that's generally why you can't access it. There are ways around it. Obviously I live in the UK, so I don't know them, but there are ways around it, and if you Google hard enough, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find ways around it to be able to watch. So apologies if it's frustrating that I'm talking about something that you can't see. I'll do the best I possibly can to show and describe what I'm talking about so that you're not completely frustrated. But essentially what I'm trying to do is look at things that are inspired by the Great British Sewing Bee rather than go into specifics, and maybe that'll help a little bit. So obviously, because I'm looking at free patterns and not the patterns that the contestants used, there will be some either hacking or some sort of tweaking to the existing patterns to get the look that the contestants got. But I've also got some suggestions for just getting the general idea as well. So this was the first week of the Great British Sewing Bee, so we had 12 new contestants, and the theme this week was wardrobe staples. For the first round, the contestants had 3 hours to sew a shell top. So if you're unsure what a shell top is, it's just a sleeveless top, and it's usually very basic, a staple of your wardrobe. The pattern that I think they potentially used is this new look, K6483, and I think they used this version here because there was very much a cutaway part to the top that they used. This was actually free in a sewing magazine, and this is a top that I've made over and over again. It's just a fantastic basic top. So obviously not everybody can get hold of this, but essentially you've got sleeveless and it's just got a little button fastening at the back, so you've got a seam up the back there and then it's just a button fastening. And on the show the contestants were made to do a buttonhole for that button fastening, which I found really odd. It's not something that you would normally do. And then it's finished with facings, so around the armhole and around the neckline that's just faced. So it's got bust darts, and yes, I've made that a couple of times. It's a good basic top. A couple of alternatives that I found for free tops. If you're lucky enough to have one of the older Great British Sewing Bee books, this is a Fashion with Fabric. I think it was the second one that came out. There is a shell top in here as well. I'm pretty sure that's not the one that they use because it's got a higher front than it has at the back, and the neckline looks a bit different, but essentially it's just the same. That particular one is available free on one of the sewing websites, so I'll leave a link to that below. And I've made that one a couple of times as well. Fantastic basic top, and you've got the option of putting buttons all the way down the back of that one. That is a good alternative to the one that they used on the bee, and great if you've just started sewing. These are great little tops to practice on and feature really nice fabric like a Liberty print or something like that. So a free one that I found on the fabric store is the Phoebe top. I'm pretty sure they use bias binding around the neck and sleeve holes, but it's a good basic top to start with. All their patterns are designed to be sewn with linen, but use any woven. If you're going to use bias binding, I did bring out a bias binding tutorial last week, which shows you how to get 2 meters of bias binding out of a 10-inch square. So I'll link that at the end for you. So that was the first challenge. The made to measure round was buffet dresses. Now, if you've never heard of a buffet dress, I don't think you're alone. Looking at the sewing community, I think there was a lot of confusion as to what a buffet dress was. No, I'd never heard of one either. So I'll try to describe what they are by going through popular sewing patterns. So if you think of the Tilly and the Buttons indigo dress, or the Friday pattern Wilder gown, or the Megan Nielsen Sudley dress, or even the Roscoe top and dress. They're just very loosely fitting dresses. They often feature gathering. Often there's some sort of feature sleeve with them, so maybe a puffed sleeve, sort of a voluminous sleeve. So I think lots of volume, and I think sort of in the past we've called them boho dresses or peasant dresses maybe, or trapeze dresses, tent dresses. They're not something that I've worn a great deal of. This is a Baden dress, and this is probably the closest that I've got to where it's quite loose fitting at the waist and you've just got tiers on it. I've got 2 tiers on that. But yeah, a lot of gathering for the poor contestants in a 5-hour time slot. Considering that they were given 3 hours for the shell top and 5 hours in order to make a dress, it just seemed a bit mean. In the made to measure round, they are given models to fit. So I did think it was an odd choice really, because essentially these are very loosely fitting dresses. Maybe they were just letting them off a bit lightly. For the first edition, I think the term buffet dress has come along so that you can eat what you like, because you're not constricted by fabric. But I think what they've all got in common is that they've got tiers, it's loosely fitted at the waist, and they're made from woven fabrics. Rather than go through all 12 contestants, which will take me all day, I'm just going to sort of loosely touch on some of them. Maybe look at some of the patterns that they could have used that are freely available. So the beauty of these dresses, apart from them being forgiving on the fit, you could just use a top pattern and adapt it from there, because essentially what most of these tiers are, and on this Baden dress here, they're just giant rectangles. So find yourself a pattern that you like, such as this new look. If you get this to fit nicely, you could cut that waist off wherever you want, either at the waist. Some of them go a little bit further up under the bust, and you've already got your fluted sleeve on that one. Quite a while ago that I got this free in a magazine. But look through your patterns and find something that, being free in a magazine, that you can adapt and just put those ruffles on, especially if it's got a nice sleeve detail like this. So I think the ones that Jean and Loretto and Julie used, they're all very similar to this one. Just add rectangles for your tiers or your gathers. Loretto did use one that had bishop sleeves, so you would have to do something different with the sleeves there. And the one that Loretto used was this fabric here, which is why I've got Mandy modelling this one for me today. It's quite a thrill really to watch it and said, oh yes, I've just used that fabric. This was actually bought from my local market. Minerva brought out an email the day after, and they've got that in stock as well. So that's just a viscose. Viscose is ideal for doing lots of gathering because it's nice and easy to work with, as are lightweight cottons. If you don't like doing lots and lots of tiers of gathers, I've got out a video that when I was making the Lyra dress by Tilly and the Buttons to help you to do lots of gathering with elastic. So I will link that at the end for you as well. If you've not got this pattern in your stash, and if you're wanting to adapt a top pattern that's for free pattern, I suggest having a look at Peppermint magazine. They've got a ruffle top that's got a very similar sleeve to this on, but it's got a V-neck, which I actually prefer than the round neck. And that is a good basic bodice where you can just add the ruffles and just get that look. So if you would like me to have a go at converting the Peppermint ruffle top with the V-neck and the fluted sleeves and show you how to measure out rectangles and add to it for tiers, I'm quite happy to do that. It would be a nice little sew along for people to use a free pattern and do a little bit of pattern hacking. And depending on what fabric you use, depends on what look you get. And I think Julie found out a little bit too late that Broderie anglaise generally needs something underneath it to line it. without giving too much away. So unsurprisingly, Mood have got quite a few options on their website, and I thought the allium dress would be a good option. If you have a look at the allium dress, that has got the bishop sleeves that Lorato used. This has got quite a long bodice on it, but it's quite a simple thing to shorten the bodice to wherever you want, and it's already got a ruffle at the bottom, and like I said before, you just add as many ruffles as you want to it. So I thought that was an interesting one because it's got a really interesting sleeve, and then it's got a little ruffle at the top of the shoulder as well. All Mood patterns go from a 32.5 inch bust up to a 58.5 inch bust, and I've chatted before about Mood patterns. They are only available as a download from home, so Peppermint magazine that I talked about earlier, you can actually get an A0, so you can get that printed at a copy shop, whereas the Mood patterns, they are just print at home, and I've got a video helping you out of how to do that. So Adam used a chiffon to make a 70s inspired dress, and I think he called it 70s cruise dress, and that had a really interesting split sleeve on it. Kate thought that maybe he'd use the Wilder gown and then just adapted the sleeves, which would be quite simple to do, and you would be having to do a rolled hem if you're doing something like that. So Named Patterns brought out Breaking the Pattern book. They have the Sade dress in there, or Sade dress, not sure how you pronounce it. That has got a very similar split sleeve that Adam used on his, so it looks like he might have combined two patterns there perhaps. That Sade or Sade top was given as a free pattern in one of the sewing magazines, so if you were lucky enough to pick that up, you could actually adapt that. Or alternatively, Mood have got the daffodil dress, and instead of the split sleeves, this has got a coat shoulder. It would be quite simple to adapt this if we specifically wanted the split sleeves. It's a great little interesting detail, but they are quite annoying, I have to say, to wear. They're not very practical, shall we say. So just bear that in mind. Adam's dress had a high neckline and a tie at the front. The daffodil dress doesn't have that tie, it just has a hook and eye or a button at the back to fasten it. But it does have one tier, and again you could just add an extra ruffle to give it that either midi or maxi look to replicate what Adam had, or up to your personal style really. You don't have to religiously follow what they've done. If you're using a chiffon like Adam did in the Sewing Bee and the daffodil, then you're going to have to line it. But you don't have to use a chiffon. You could use something a little less tricky and shifty, and I think they're suggesting on the Mood website for this one a cotton voile, which would be really nice, a charmeuse. They've even suggested a velour or a linen knit, which I think would be extremely comfortable. So this has got an elasticated waist, so definitely fits the brief of buffet style. I think it will give you plenty of room for a big dinner. If you can't get the Named top with the split, they do have a top that has got a split in it, and that's called the Rosa blouse. So if you did actually manage to watch the Sewing Bee, I think the only pattern that you got a glimpse of was Catherine's. She used a McCall 7970 View D, the wrap dress, a tie at the waist and some bell sleeves. This one's elasticated as well, and I think the point of difference of this one was that it had asymmetric tiers. So on one side it had 2 tiers, and on the other side it had 3 tiers. It's gathered at the shoulder seam, so there's no bust outs on this one. I think this one could be replicated using the Noah dress by Fabric Store. Because it's a gathered waist, you would just put in as many tiers as you wanted on that one. So if it's the split tiers that you particularly liked on that dress, that would be quite a simple thing to do as well. You would just put a back seam on those tiers and split it. So one side you would do 2 tiers and the other side you would just divide into 3. But yeah, I think that this would be an interesting one to play around with prints. If you found a print with different colourways, for example, or to play with stripes, or a bit like Raf did with his Broderie anglaise, where you've played about with different patterns in Broderie anglaise. I thought that would be a really interesting one to do. So moving on to Raf's, or Raphael, the lovely French guy who won Garment of the Week. He made a really nice one from different types of Broderie anglaise. He actually dyed it that mustard yellow to get that effect. I believe that Raf works in the textile industry, so I think he might be one to watch this one. So I think Kate suggested that he'd use the McCall 7969, which I do agree with her. The front is very, very similar. If you got a glimpse of the back, it had a very, very deep V in the back, and then he used some ties to crisscross at the back. The ties were then echoed at the front, and he put some little amber beads on the front. So that was a wrap dress as well. The point of difference of his was he played about with the different sorts of broderie anglaise. So I've just brought some broderie anglaise here to show you, number one, what we're talking about, because not everybody calls it that. I think some people call it an eyelet. And you can see there, I've got one pattern there, and then it drops into another detail pattern there, and then another one there at the bottom. So I've got 3 patterns in one on piece of fabric. I think I only bought 1.5 meters of this, so I probably wouldn't be able to do a very long dress out of it, but it would be interesting to have a play about with that ruffle top. So I've had a bit of a fail on trying to find a free pattern that would replicate this one, because it had raglan sleeves as well, so a bit like a peasant blouse at the front but crossed over. I can't find a free pattern anywhere, so if you've got any ideas, let me know below. He said that he'd only learnt to sew during the pandemic. The dress that he made, it was to such a good standard that I think he could be definitely in the finals, if not the winner. So that's probably the kiss of death for Raf now I've said that. So let me know below who you think will get through to the finals. And I think it might be a bit too early to say who's going to win it. You know, no personal comments. You never know who's watching this, and we like to keep things nice and friendly here. And yeah, if you know of a raglan sleeve top or dress that's got a crossover, that's a free pattern, let me know that one as well. So a couple of other free dress patterns on the Mood website that I found that would fit the buffet dress brief. I think the amaryllis dress, that has got the crossover detail that Raf's had. And I think you could probably use that as a starter for Raf's dress. Obviously it's not got the V-back detail. And to be quite honest, I like the look of the V-back, but it's not very practical. It would forever be slipping off your shoulders, I think. It did look like it was about to fall off the model's shoulders. So yeah, I think the amaryllis dress would be a good starter for Raf's dress. It isn't raglan sleeved, it's not exactly the same. It does have ruffles, but it's got a really small ruffle under the bust, and then it's got one large panel of ruffles or tiers. So again, you can put whatever size tiers you want on that. I did think it had a bit of a maternity vibe, that one. I wondered if it might have been designed as a maternity dress. Also there's the lobelia. I think this would be beautiful extended with lots of ruffles and tiers. And this has got the bishop sleeves. Could use that to the laratus, and this has got a V-neck as well. And obviously with the lobelia, you would be extending this one. It is quite short. I've included the heather in this one. It doesn't have the sleeves. I wasn't going to include it, but I think it definitely gives you that kind of peasant dress boho vibe. It's got the ruffles over the shoulders and down the bodice, and I think this is a really beautiful dress actually. I just wouldn't have any occasion to wear anything that flouncy and that floofy, I don't think. Yeah, it's definitely got the swishy kind of vibe, just without the sleeves. There are lots and lots of dresses on the Mood website that I could include, but to keep this video relatively brief, then I've had to cut it a bit fine. I'm trying to keep the ones that are fairly loose around the waist, but have tiers and ruffles and sleeves. Moving away from Mood patterns now, back to Fabric Store. Not forgetting the one that Sews and Snips made for the Frugal Frocks challenge. And she used the Avery dress, which is a little bit different in that it's got the collar and the placket down the front, but the way she did that was a buffet dress in the way she added all those tiers, and it just goes to show you how easily that can be done. Because the placket doesn't go all the way down the front, it does show you how easy that can be done. And I think the styling definitely fits the brief of the buffet dress. Another dress pattern that I think fits the buffet dress brief is the Vicky dress by Vicky Sews. This has got the rounded neck, it's got long puff sleeves into an elasticated wrist. It's got like princess seams with ruffles into it, and then it's got ruffles just below the shoulder here. Skirt gathered into the waistband, and again, you can add as many tiers as you like for that. The original version is quite short, but again, it's just a rectangle. You can make that as long as you want, or you can divide it and make several tiers. It is in Russian, but you can get an English translation. And the beauty of Vicky Sews patterns is that it's drafted for different heights, so you don't have to grade your pattern. So if you fancy drafting your own, using your own measurements, I found a really excellent tutorial by Paige Handmade. So this is a YouTube video, but it is actually supported by 2 pages of PDF. that gives you all the instructions that you need, and then you would watch the YouTube video. It's got the elastic around the neckline so that you can wear it off the shoulder if you want to, but you don't have to. It's got little puff sleeves that are gathered into elastic, and then it's got 3 tiers. So a really good one if you struggle to find patterns to fit you and you fancy having a go at drafting your own. I'll just show you the instructions here. It's just 2 pages. And essentially what she's using is lots of rectangles, and then you're just using your own measurements. So I thought the support from that and the YouTube tutorial, I thought that was really good, because you don't have to keep stopping the tutorial and going backwards and forwards. So if you like the peasant style or the buffet look, and you don't really want to mess about drafting your own or hacking patterns, have a look at If Kim Wore Clothes. That's a pattern company that I featured last week. That seems to be her sort of aesthetic. She's got an Etsy shop with lots of patterns on there, not free, but only about £6 or £7. There is a poppy dress on there that is very, very similar to the McCall's dress that Catherine used. That's the end of the Great British Sewing Bee inspired free patterns. I hope you enjoyed that little overview. Last year I went into finding all the fabrics and what have you, because I'm bringing out 3 videos a week now. I just don't have time to go into finding all the fabrics. Minerva did send me an email the day after, and they have got quite a lot of fabrics on their website. Just have a look on the Minerva website and see if you can find them on there. Just let me know below if this is the thing that you'd like me to continue with. I think it will be going on for 10 weeks or something. So I'm more than happy to look at for free patterns that are inspired by the Sewing Bee, but obviously I'm never going to get an exact match because it's unlikely that they will be using the free patterns. But I don't want to bring you something out that you're not interested in watching. So let me know below if this is something that you want me to continue, or I can go back to Situation Normal and look at the free patterns that I found this week. So onto the challenges and competitions that I found this week, and there's quite a few that might tie in with the Great British Sewing Bee theme. So Sewist in the City has started her own little challenge on Instagram, and she's calling it Sewing Bee Style. And each week she's putting week 1, week 2 at the end of it. This week is wardrobe staples, and then at the end there will be a randomly drawn winner as well. And the good thing about that one is that you've got 4 weeks to sew it. You don't have to sew it in the same week as the theme. The draw finishes 4 weeks after each theme. And then the overall prize winner is drawn 4 weeks after the final, that's in June. So it is open worldwide, but some of the prizes are UK only. Then there is the Sew a Maxi for Mother's Day, which I thought would tie in because a lot of these buffet dresses are maxi dresses. That is being run by Crystal Sews and Stuff and Crumpets Tea and Sewing. She has got international prizes as well, so she's got a £50 Minerva haberdashery bundle, £35 gift card for LA Finch Fabrics. So this is Mother's Day in the States, so this competition is running between April the 11th and May the 16th. They are actually allowing trousers for this, so it's a dress, skirt, trousers or jumpsuit which is maxi length or width, so they're sort of defining it mid-calf or longer. So I thought that was quite a good one because you've got quite a lot of scope with that one. And then Viv Mum Sews is doing one in collaboration with her pal Joy, and they're calling it the Joy Viv Sundress Challenge. And this is an amazing one. This is a sewing a sundress, which the definition of a sundress for them is any dress that you can wear on an 80-degree sunny day for a walk in the park, which doesn't happen very much in Yorkshire. So they've got some fantastic prizes, and they are cash prizes. So she's got a $125 cash prize, which is open worldwide, and a $75 cash prize, which is open worldwide. The 3rd, 4th and 5th prizes are just US only. So that's fabric, a gift voucher for Fabric Mart and some earrings made by Joy. So I thought that was a lovely one. That is open for the whole of April, so the last date for that is the 30th of April. And another one that's not really inspired by the Sewing Bee, but some of the ex-bees have got prizes for it, and that is run by Little Rosy Cheeks and Sew Yarn Crafty. And this is the Tits Up Transformation Challenge, which, don't be offended, it's in aid of charity. So it's in aid of some of the breast cancer charities, I think. So this again is open worldwide, and you just need to share on your Instagram feed something that you need to rework. So something that's gone wrong and you need to rework. So they want to see your before and after on this one as well. So you've got £50 voucher for the Yarn Craft Studio, and then you've got vouchers and all sorts. But Generates, who was on the Bee not last season, the season before, She has developed a little ruler, that's one of her prizes, and then Ben Moore, he was on one of the bees as well, I think he was on the same one. He has done a one-of-a-kind t-shirt as a prize as well. And then there's an Overlocker workshop voucher, a virtual voucher as a prize. So lots of PDF patterns. So that's open worldwide for a lot of the prizes. And if you do the draft your own maxi dress or the one from Page Handmade, the Punk Frockers, which is a podcast, they have got the Punk Frockers Draftee Challenge. I'll leave details of that below as well. And then just a little heads up for Sew Together for Summer, and that is starting on the 21st of April till the 21st of June. They've not actually announced what the theme is this year, but they do prizes with that one, so look out for that one on Instagram as well. That's usually run by Sewing in Spain, and I think it might be Monica. So that's it from me today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave me comments below. And again, let me know whether you want me to continue with the sewing bee theme whilst it's on, or whether you want me to change it back to doing free patterns that I've found during the week. I just thought it might be just a little bit different. Look out for the sew along that hopefully I will have up on Sunday if I can get it edited. And that is for the ruffle dress and top by Dressy Patterns. And that will have the tutorial within it for doing a rolled hem on your overlocker, but I will bring that out separately as well as a separate tutorial. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. I shall speak to you later. Bye.